Bowling is not the best spectator sport in the world. It's one-dimensional, and the shoes are hideous as fuck. But that doesn't stop it from being a fun game, particularly with friends. And despite the aforementioned one-dimensional characteristic, it still has appeal in a video game outlet. After all, it's one of the staples of the blockbuster Wii Sports package. But how did the sport fare for the Atari 2600, especially in 1979, the early era of the console? Well, visually, it's very rudimentary. The bowler, bowling ball, and pins are quite blocky, particularly the pins. They're literally blocks. And there's not much to speak of for animation. There's just a 3-frame approach sequence for the bowler, the pins quickly knock away, and the ball itself never even has a roll motion. The horizontal lane is a departure from what would become the norm of the first-person view in later bowling games, but it would have probably been difficult to display the pins clearly on the 2600 in that format. The order of operations hasn't changed much over the years. You line the bowler up and let her rip. There's no power or accuracy meter here, though. Instead, it's all about where you line up and how much spin you put on the ball afterward, providing you have that option on. There are 3 variations for this. Either A, your post-roll spin is turned off completely and you're simply lining your player up and bowling in a straight line. B, you can add spin to the ball and let it travel in a particular direction at your command after you roll. Or C, you can manipulate the direction of the ball after you roll and even steer it from side to side. There's a bit of a delay in the controls of this ball spin, but that's done intentionally, so you don't just free will the ball directly into the center for an easy perfect 300 every game. There's a semblance of timing here. And although it may look sluggish and flat, the physics are actually pretty solid, and pins can knock each other down, so you won't get the same results of which pins are left standing every time, especially if you set it on the harder difficulty, which randomly makes it more difficult to knock down strikes. There aren't a ton of options, and you can't play with more than 2 players, but if you have a group of people, just hold a tournament or divvy everyone up into 2 teams, use your imagination. At least the game keeps score for you. Overall, the game's not going to bowl you over with its addictive gameplay or anything like that, and it hasn't aged terribly well, but it's still pretty playable.
A man in Kentucky sure is lucky.